My name is Maria Continentino, and I'm a fourth-year student in Natural Resources Conservation in the Faculty of Forestry at UBC. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my project in co-op for the second term with the Below Ground ecosystem group. So we studied the effect of Sitka black-tailed deer on below ground ecosystems in Haida. So where is Haida? Haida is an archipelago off the northwest coast of British Columbia, and it's about 1,700 kilometers from Vancouver. And the reason why we went there is to study these little guys here. So these are Sitka black-tailed deer, and they were brought to the island by Europeans for the purposes of hunting. And in the beginning, there were only 7 of them. And due to the mild climate of Haida, in addition of the lack of predators, abundant food, and no browsing competitors, the population increased quite a bit. So now 99% of the archipelago is colonized, which ranges from 150,000 to 200,000 individuals in the island. As you can see, the top picture is a deer-free island, and the bottom picture is a deer island. So here, there's a lack of shrub layer, as well as herb layer and tree regeneration due to deer overbrowsing. And this effect has been linked with the decline of native birds and native insects, as there is a lack of habitat and food. A lot is known about the effects of deer on the vegetation as well as the birds and insects, but not so much is known about the effects on the soil. So the hypothesis of the below ground ecosystem group is that deer can interact directly and indirectly with the soil. So first, there is the interaction between dung and urine going to the soil, changing the nutrient availability, and this also affects the soil structure through trampling. There is also an indirect shift in the vegetation, since deer will eat the most nutritious, full of nitrogen plants. So these are red cedar, elderberry, and other broadleaf plants. And they leave behind conifers such as Sitka spruce and hemlock, which are very hard to break in due to lignins and other carbohydrate structures. So this, as a consequence, decreases the litter quality and quantity in the soil. So there are 2 master students and 1 PhD student studying the effect of soil components in Haida, the effect of deer on soil components in Haida, and 3 scenarios can be studied for that. So the first one is the colonization gradient in Lasky Bay. So Lasky Bay is an island in the archipelago, and there are other islands around. So West Cadence, that have been colonized by deer for about 20 years, while others such as Louise and Reef have been colonized for 60 years. And others such as Lost and Low have never been colonized. So by studying, comparing the effects of deer in these islands, you can sort of show and see a soil evolution due to the deer. There are also deer exclosures in Grand Island. So these 5x5 exclosures were set up in 1971 by other researchers, and we were able to go in there and compare the vegetation and the soil inside the exclosures as compared to the soil and vegetation outside the exclosure. And this will show the long-term effect of deer in the soil. And last but not least, there is the deer culling in Ramsey Island. So we can study the short-term impact of deer. So a little bit about my field work. I spent 3 weeks camping in last Cape Bay, and I commuted every day to the field. And many times I had some really nice wildlife encounters, and I had lots of fun with the crew. So what we're looking for in the field. Usually a typical day we would go to the field, set up a 20 by 20 plot in each area that we aim to study. And I basically did the soil analysis, and we would dig soil pits, look at the soil horizon, look at the layers, measure the bulk density. So we would collect samples and collect bulk density to be later on measured in the lab. We'd also collect the nutrient availability through the spear-S probes. So one collects anions and the other one collects cations, and this can also be later on studied in the field in the lab. We collected mesofauna samples and macrofauna samples as well. We're also interested to study the vegetation. So we looked at the amount of seedling, as well as tree height and DBH when we had trees in the area. We also looked at plant cover and the species composition, as well as moss cover. We also collected fine roots in order to study the amount of carbon present in these roots, to see what's the carbon storage below ground. So all these results are still underway, and we aim to give clue to management strategies. I would like to give a big thanks to the Below Ground Ecosystem Group for allowing me to partake on this really nice research experience, as well as for Forestry Student Services and Co-op, and my other employers, the Nature Trust of British Columbia. Thank you for watching the presentation.